I just found a rabbit hole that goes deeper than my throat, and you will not imagine what it is. So, the old gist is basically about a pastor that essentially kind of led or had a play in the suicide of his wife. So, it is pretty dark and crazy. This is not a time where I'm going to be laughing at anything because there isn't nothing to laugh about. It's just a woman who unalived herself because of a deranged man potentially that she was living with. I'm not really sure about anything yet because I haven't really read into it properly. I just knew the whole gist of the story, and investigation is speculating that it is probably the husband that led to the death of his wife because apparently it was a stalker. So we're gonna dive deep into this, and Netflix made their own documentary on this, but I want to read about it real quick. So, as you can see, the headline says, Pastor wife told cops she was afraid before her own death in Netflix true crime documentary. So, is a true crime, but Netflix just making a documentary. Death of a pastor wife is shocking of mid-30 who was found dead on April 27 from a gunshot wound to the head. Just before her death, she called emergency service to report she was about to take her own life and asked operator to trace her location so her family could find her body. Her death was officially ruled a suicide. However, the ruling sparked massive national outrage. Mica had served her husband with divorce papers just 2 days before her death. Yeah. Before I keep reading into this, that seems a little bit, cheeky, if I must say, because the guy just have a divorce serving from his wife 2 days prior to her death. It does seem a little bit cheeky, and I do appreciate the national outrage for it, because it doesn't make sense. 2 days after divorce, paper being filed and served to him like a chicken on a table, the wife take her life. It doesn't make sense. Something smells a little bit unright right there. I'm not gonna say he did anything because definitely she took her life as the investigation, but I do somewhat believe it may have just crushed her soul in a way. It may have just, deliberately crushed her. I'm not saying outright punched her, but like it might have just said some words to her that made her want to take her life or something like that. Because again, he's a pastor. It may have put a fear of God in her or something like that. We don't know. It is a bit cheeky. It doesn't smell right at all to me. It doesn't calculate. It doesn't compute in my head. And I'm not here to, again, spark any public outrage. I'm just here sharing my opinion. I'm just a greasy guy sitting on a chair and sharing what I think about this outrage. It is outlandish to imagine that the husband didn't have a role in her death. I'm not saying he had a direct role. It may have not even done it on purpose. It may have just said something that crushed her in a way, and she may already been in a terrible mental state already. Because again, what led to them divorcing? What led to it? Again, right? If you think about it, due to the fact that the husband is a pastor, she may also be very religious, which means she may think God does not like divorce and she may go to hell. So instead of her divorcing, she might as well, it is a bit out of the place. I don't know what to keep speculating about this, but let's get reading into this just a little bit deeper. So over here it says, a month prior, Mica told police she was afraid for her life and alleged her husband, who is a prominent pastor in South Carolina, I don't know why there are a lot of crimes lately in South Carolina, was stalking and tracking her. Following Mica's death, families and friends accused JP of extreme coercive control, manipulation, and psychological abuse. Again, I didn't even read into this and I already knew it was something psychological. It may have put some sort of fear in her, like it may make her fearful for something, for her to take her life. People don't randomly take their life unless they're in a terrible mental state or they think there is no hope for them or things like that. People don't randomly take their life. It doesn't make fucking sense to me. Like, it never did make any sense. This made no sense to me. I don't believe she just took her life randomly without the husband having some sort of role in it. Again, I'm not here to say it did have a role in it. It may have an indirect role in it. Again, guys, don't come after me for this. I don't think it killed her. I don't think anything happened that made him kill her. Or, but I just think somehow, it did something to it in a way. Anyways, a legend surfaced that he forced her to take his own medication. Harder physically commit to psychiatric facility and placed a permanent tattoo of his signature on her body as a sign of ownership. Okay, no. This guy is a complete jerk, right? He's a jerk for this, right? This guy's not a pastor. Him making her do all these things, making her take medication to make her seem like she was crazy. It doesn't make sense. It smells fishy. It doesn't make sense. Making her commit into a psychiatric facility? Why? Why would they do that? You guys think for yourself. Why would it make her commit to a psychiatric facility? Why? If I am guessing, again, this is a speculation. I don't think it is anything right. I don't even think I'm right about any of this. Making her commit into a psychiatric facility, probably trying to make everyone think she is crazy or some sort. So her killing herself is, it adds up, but it is a little bit cheeky to me. And as well, having her take a permanent tattoo of him on her body doesn't sound pastor-like to me, if you ask me. I do think a lot of these pastors tend to use God as all this excuse for all this online shit. I don't think it makes sense. Anyways, so this is them together. He seems like a controlling guy, if I'm asking, because look at him and look at her. Just look into their eyes, bro. It seems somewhat controlling to me. On Mica's final day alive, she was leaving her home at 11:38 a.m. visiting Dick's Pawn Shop in Myrtle Beach, where she purchased a 6-saw handgun and ammunition 30 minutes later. Until she left the pawn shop and drove to the Lumber River State Park in South Carolina. Just over an hour later, Mica pulled emergency service and explained to the state she was going to end her life and begged the operator to trace her cell phone location so her family could find her easily. She hung up immediately after. Her body was found soon in a water nearby, with fishermen retrieving her ID and bag gun while she searched for her on the way. Federal authorities intervened because of an alleged relentless 528-day campaign of harassment by an estranged husband, JP, which crossed state lines. Now, I do think it doesn't make sense. Imagine this. Imagine this is what actually happened, guys. Imagine this, right? This is not a defamation on a pastor or anything. This is just a thought, and I have freedom of thought. I'm not saying he did anything wrong. Again, I'm not claiming this guy did anything wrong, so don't come after me for this. What I think is, I don't think I'm right, so what I think is, because this guy, if you see the pattern in this story, is a controlling motherfucker and things like that, he may have just made her bought the shotgun and walked out to the place she killed herself and made her kill herself. That could be what happened. Or perhaps she could just have feel like there is no hope for her left apart from her killing herself. It doesn't make sense that someone would just randomly kill herself without anything prior happening that caused this death. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't compute. It doesn't marinate. I'm not buying it. If you guys are buying it, you might as well need to go to Arkham Asylum for some checking. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Anyways, let's get right into this. So, J.P. Morgan allegedly admitted to hiring a private investigation under the false disguise of protecting her from buying a gun, but prosecutors argued that it was actually using to track her every move. So, he was using a private investigation to track her as well, which is crazy. It is crazy. Moreover, prosecutors JP, which is the pastor, frequently contacted Mica more than 50 times in a single day. What the fuck? Obsessive pastor? Sent her non-stop unwanted messages and threatened to expose the intimate photos of her online, a threat he eventually carried out. He also reported the deflated Mica calculated a month before her death. Mica called the police terrified, explaining she had found a physical attached to her car and a razor blade near her tire. He also has been accused of financially strangling her by freezing her bank account. Guys, open your brain, open your mind. Guys, your instinct, what is your instinct telling you right now? What the fuck is your instinct telling you about what just happened? About what I just read? Reading this article, reading these lines here, right? What does your instinct tells you, right? What does it tell you? I'm gonna tell you what my instinct tells me. Based on what is going on here, guys, based on what I am seeing here, right? Watch this. I'm being an investigator right now. 50 times messages and all of this threatening stuff, threatening photos and things, intimate photos. So he made that, take photos of him together, them having sex and things like that, or probably he actually did post it, and he slashed the tires. He's been monitoring now. I had private investigation, things like that. Even if he didn't directly kill this woman, he had a role in her death. She must probably been in a terrible mental state because of all this controlling shit that this motherfucker has been doing. Because of all this controlling shit, he definitely had a role in her death. He had a role. She must have felt lifeless. She must have felt like her life meant nothing. That is what she definitely must have felt. If you guys are not hoping your third eye to see this, I don't know what else. It made her feel lifeless, so she was forced. She seems forced to take her life. She didn't have a choice. She probably felt like, oh my God, this is gonna continue. Oh my God, I need to, this is so sad. I am imagining this shit, because that is what I can see from here, guys. That is what I can see. It makes no complete sense to me. It makes no sense, because if I was in a relationship like this is what would be going on in my brain. A suicidal thought definitely might have crossed my mind. What the fuck? What the fuck? It makes no complete sense. It makes no fucking sense. It doesn't compute. Just due to what I can just see there, just a little, it doesn't make complete sense to me. It makes no sense. You can't argue that nothing went awry. You can't say that. You cannot say that nothing went awry with this shit. You can't say nothing went wrong in some ways whatsoever. I definitely think that something went wrong. I think so. This needs a deeper look into. In January 2026, JP was arrested and arraigned in federal court on charges of cyber stalking and making false statements to investigators. He pleaded not guilty to and maintains he had no role in the death of his wife. His trial will continue in late 2026. It is sad. It is fucking sad. The documentary is already on Netflix now. It is fucking sad. It is fucking sad and atrocious. It is fucking sad. I can't imagine he had no role. Does it not feel guilty in some ways at all? Does it not feel guilty that he definitely must have fucking killed his wife? Does it not feel guilty? It's just fucking crazy. I don't believe he had nothing to do with it. I think it does have something to do with it. It doesn't make sense. You guys don't let don't let him being a pastor fool you. Most pastors nowadays are fucking, like, they are liars. It is fucking crazy. Anyway, man, I'm gonna stop yapping about this and I'm gonna leave it there, and I hope the guy just face good amount of justice, maximum justice. For the cyber stalking, I know, wait, what is the punishment for cyber stalking? Penalty for cyber stalking. Oh, let me show you my screen. So it could get up to 6 months to 10 years in prison. They should give him the maximum. I think they should smack him with the maximum amount of sentence. That is what they should do. They should smack him with a maximum amount of sentence for a cyber stalking crime. That way, at least there is some sort of justice found. They should give him the maximum penalty. Even him being coercively controlling, they should give him maximum. They should have on maximum and maximum and maximum. Because I do believe he has some sort of thing to do with the death. Or perhaps I may be entirely wrong, guys. I may be entirely wrong. Who knows? Anyways, I'm going to stop yapping about this, and that is pretty much it, man. And I'll see you in the next video. I hope this video kind of opened your heart to this case, and I hope you took something from this.